We're back again with another daily Bitcoin DCA because we know the USD is just not the way. So we currently sitting at block height 914,404. Currently, one Bitcoin will run you 116,427-ish dollars, and $1 will get you only 859 sats. We got a Z-score of 2.3, as you can see, sitting down here. And if we take a look at previous cycles, the Z-score, hit this oversold, overbought area, and then at the lows over here in the oversold. So red is overbought, green is pretty much oversold. For the 200-week moving average, kind of our guidance for about our floor, we're at 52,369. So the 200-week moving average is slowly creeping up. If we take a look at some technicals, take a look at our weekly RSI, bouncing up, we're hitting 60. Seeing where we're going, the MACD is looking like it's trying to curl up. And if we take a look at the numbers, so today I was able to get my order in at 116,274. Like I said, I used the Coinbase one, so I was able to get a better spread since that first day. The spread was crazy, and they also took a 4-cent fee. So we're trying to maximize, the price that we're buying at, and then fees as well. They're going to get their cut one way or another. Here is the current holdings. It actually should be up a little more, but like I said, that 4-cent spread, that 4-cent fee, and then the spread that it got filled at from the first day is what's really hurting this. Because if we take a look over at the spreadsheet, we can see that we were accumulating in 114,000 Bitcoins at 116,000 today. So it should be actually higher than what we contributed. But due to, that spread and that fee. And then I also had like 1 cent in there. That's why it's showing that number that it was showing. And so it's off by just like a little bit, but nothing too crazy. So what I decided to do for my dollar a day put away, to wait to do a mass buy for when we reach the Z-score of 0 or below, I've decided to put it in BITI, which is it's an ETF. It's an inverse of Bitcoin's price. So it's pretty much shorting Bitcoin, right? And if we take a look at here, so I put the $3 in, was able to get in at $18.04 is my average cost. BITI is the ticker. And if we take a look at the technicals for BITI, I'm actually getting in at a great price. We see that there's some gaps to fill. We got a bunch of gaps to fill, even some smaller ones here. We got some gaps in the 21 to 23 range, 25 range, and then we got some gaps in the 29, 30 range, and then also some 33, 34. So in theory, when Bitcoin price dips, and when it dips, this will run up, and when we reach that 0 Z-score, I can sell out of the ETF. Those funds will have accumulated, in theory, they should have went up in price. And then so instead of the dollar a day just sitting doing nothing, at least when we go to the downside, I'll be able to, sell out of that and take whatever profits and the, however many dollars I've accumulated in that time for it to happen, I can transfer all that into Bitcoin, right? So taking advantage of Bitcoin price going down, and then also buying in at a great price based off of previous history, looking at the Z-score and those things. So what I was going to originally do was put the money in something like USDC and just let it slowly accumulate there. And then, I was going to also find one of those exchanges that give you some type of yield for staking your USDC, but I didn't want to do all that. And, I could have put it somewhere else, but I figure, hey, I got my dollar a day going to the upside, and then I also got my dollar a day going to the downside, but it's all going to the dollar a day at the end of the day, right? It's literally all the same mission, but I'm benefiting the upside and I'm benefiting the downside too. So we'll see how that plays out. So that's what I decided to do with that dollar a day tucked away. And so we'll keep an eye on that. So I'll be updating, that in the spreadsheet as well. So far I've deposited $3. I just did it today. So this is how many shares I've accumulated of BITI. And then, our Z-score, our weekly RSI, which we're still keeping an eye on, and our 200-week moving average, which we see is slowly creeping up. That's what we want. And technicals are looking good for everything we got going on. So everything is rolling smooth so far. Shout out to Trey over on X. I see he tagged me. He tagged like 7 of his people to get in on this dollar a day DCA challenge. I think that's dope. I think it's cool. If anyone has ever told you to get into Bitcoin, they're really looking out for you. And do the knowledge, right? Don't just take what some stranger is telling you to do. You still got to do the knowledge and understand why it is that you're getting out of one asset class and into a different asset class, which is a completely new asset class compared to anything that we've ever seen. So you have to do the research. You got to read the books, watch the podcasts, read the articles, and understand. You got to have a good understanding of what the problem is. And the problem is central banks and the banking system have access to print money out of nothing, while you have to spend your hard, your quality time away from your family and your friends and doing the things that you want to be doing. You have to spend them to go make this thing dollars that they're able to just push at the flick of a button and create trillions of it and devalue what you've already earned and saved up. So it's a nasty game that we have to play. We don't have a say. We don't have a choice in it. We were given this gift by Satoshi, whoever he, she, or they are. If people choose to keep ignoring the facts that are out there that anyone is able to go see and research and, take a little bit of time and figure out what's been going on for all these years. And then also take the time to study about what Bitcoin is, the technical side of it, and understand the security side of it, the cryptography side of it, all that good stuff. You'll have a better understanding as to why. But I'm not here to convince anyone. But like I said, in due time, we'll tell, how this works out. But I'm fully on a Bitcoin standard. I live fully on a Bitcoin standard. So I'm just doing this kind of as a project and, out of curiosity, and see what happens. So shout out to those of you that are, following along the ride, and I'll see you guys again tomorrow.